You know, fucking Australia may have turned into a fucking fascist mess, but Sky News Australia is not fucking pulling any punches when it's saying that fucking the U.S. dollar might collapse because of all this bullshit. I've been fucking saying this for fucking months now. All these sanctions are only really fucking hurting us. They're not really affecting Russia. It's a temporary effect because Russia's just going to transition to another system that's already accepted worldwide, and they're going to circumvent our goddamn sanctions. Union pay. Union pay is accepted in all major outlets. Is the world going to cut China off too? Can the world cut China off since most of the shit is made in China? I don't think so. So I think the sanctions are trash. But let's just get into this fucking article. Yeah, you need to start talking to people about storing your value in something other than the US dollar. Potential US dollar collapse may be another consequence of going so hard on Russia. Sky host James Morrow said the potential collapse of the US dollar may be another consequence of going so hard on Russia. You're pushing Russia and China closer together, which is insane, Mr. Morrow said, and it is fucking insane. Two of our largest enemies together, working together, is retarded to me. He said it also shows how bad the foreign policy establishment in the U.S. has been, not just through the Biden presidency, but also this started, during Barack Obama and even before then. He said, you push those two together and now they're talking about selling oil denominated not in dollars but other currencies, including Chinese currencies, which would weaken the reserve status of the U.S. currency. It would not weaken the reserve currency. Is that it? Is that all you're going to say? And just going to show me fucking things of Will Smith? That's funny. That is funny. That's all you're going to say? I mean, it is an opinion, but it's a true opinion. It's going to weaken the status of the currency. But let's see if we can't find something else about this. Just so you know that I'm not talking out my ass.
That's how winning is done.
All right, so we got this from the Federalist. Will Joe Biden oversee the collapse of the U.S. dollar? Will Joe Biden oversee the collapse of the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency? Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell appears to think it's a possibility. So this is from the Fed, based on his recent quip. It's possible to have more than one reserve currency. This is a staggering admission from the one person who wields the most influence over the dollar. So this is somebody that we definitely don't like because we have to abolish the Fed. But the Fed is admitting that a collapse of the U.S. dollar is coming because of the way we've been handling the U.S. dollar. I should be saying the way we have allowed them to handle the U.S. dollar. Then again, given the $30 trillion and counting federal debt, Powell's comment should come as no surprise. Distilled, the chances are multiplying daily that the Biden administration is hurtling towards ringing the death knell for the dollar as the world's reserve currency. The Wall Street Journal reported as exclusive on March 15th, indicating another step towards the dollar's loss of reserve currency status. Saudi Arabia is considering accepting yuan instead of the dollar for oil sales to China, which we already talked about. As the journal noted, that would dent the U.S. dollar's dominance in the global petroleum market. It would be a profound shift for Saudi Arabia to price even some of its roughly 6.2 million barrels a day of crude exports in anything other than a dollar. The majority of global oil sales, around 80%, are done in dollars, and the Saudis have traded oil exclusively in dollars since 1974 in a deal with the Nixon administration that included security guarantees for the kingdom. Like, that's just fucking crazy that, like, Joe Biden, we went from, I mean, hate him or love him, I'm so glad we have no more mean tweets. We went from the greatest economy in our history to the shittiest economy in our history in less than a fucking year. Just fathom that. Absorb that for a second. In less than a fucking year, we went from the greatest economy we've ever had in our history to the shittiest economy we've ever had in our history. Just 1 year under this fucking senile prick. Dropping the dollar world hurt Americans badly, regardless of who good guy is in the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Is there one or what role the United States should play, if any? It's a vital thing through the consequences of the dollar losing its status as the world's reserve currency. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there's plenty of people better than Donald Trump, but to fucking vote in this shitbag just because you hate Donald Trump, because that's what people actively said. We're not voting for Joe Biden. We're voting against Donald Trump. You people are fucking absolutely disgustingly retarded to me. Simply, it would mean a dramatic drop in the standard of living and the quality of life for middle-class Americans for the world. It would mean a realignment of the global economic and financial order, which is probably what they want for the fucking Great Reset shit. So just prepare for it. I've been telling you, fucking seek professional advice and prepare for it. A reserve currency status means central banks around the world hold dollars in reserve as an enormous amount of global trade is priced and conducted in dollars. For U.S. citizens, this means a greater quality of life and standard of living in at least terms of purchasing and financing power and greater income and general economic efficiency. Reserve currency status also gives the United States a great amount of power and influence over world affairs. Amid the Russian-Ukraine war, Biden slapped economic sanctions on Russia, especially denying Russian access to dollar reserves. And this Biden has weaponized the dollar against Russia over the last decade or so. The United States has increasingly done likewise to countries that have failed to conform to the United States foreign policy goals, which I think is absolute garbage. I don't think we should be forcing a dollar on everyone. Not that I want the dollar not to be used as the world's reserve currency, because I don't want to fucking fall back into a third world shithole. But I mean, as long as we're free, that's ultimately all that really fucking matters. The problem for the United States is Russia and other countries are now looking for alternatives to the dollar. Sanctions coupled with the Fed's massive inflation of the dollar supply since the economic crisis of 2008, 25 trillion, including 9 trillion for the COVID response, has sparked confidence in both the dollar, has shaken confidence in both the US dollar and US government in the dollar as the world reserves. Many countries no longer trust the United States, and they are losing faith in the dollar as a stable medium of exchange and store value. Simply put, the United States has abused the dollar's standing as the world's reserve currency. And it's true. The Fed has enabled the dollar's destruction. For decades, reserve status helped allow the Fed to inflate the supply of dollars. These are dollars backed by nothing, as President Richard Nixon served the dollar's convertibility to gold in 1971, which is probably the stupidest thing we ever did, though most of the gold is in technology and stuff, so I mean, we kind of needed it to advance so rapidly. The Fed's inflation of dollars has worked to destroy the purchasing power of the dollar by increasing the price of goods and services throughout the economy. Inflating the supply of dollars along with artificially lowering interest rates also sets the stage for boom-bust, economic bubbles, and crashes and recessions, or Great Depressions. The Fed's dollar inflation acts as an invisible pernicious tax on people who exchange in dollars, especially the poor middle class and those on fixed incomes, retirees. The U.S. government has also used inflation to fund its unsubstantially enormous federal bureaucracy, which is overbloated and stuff. So we need to take our country back this election in the midterms, and I'm not being left, right, or sideways, Republican or Democrat. We need to get rid of all of the shitty Democrats, which is pretty much all of them, and all of the shitty Republicans, which we've already begun doing in places like New Hampshire and stuff, by replacing them with Free State Project representatives. And because that's how winning is done. We have to take our fucking country back, because these people are leading it into the fucking ground. They really are. The collapse is coming. You got to be fucking ready for it, and just be prepared, because they're leading it into the fucking ground. I'm just fucking saying. Thank you for checking out this clip of my Thought of the Day podcast. You can catch this podcast every Tuesday through Friday at that'sonpoint.info by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that's how winning is done. New clips go out daily, and we can't do this without you, so we appreciate your support. With that being said, consider joining for $5 a month, and you get early access to the uncensored version of this, early access to our weekly That's On Point podcast, and access to exclusive content only for members. All the money that we receive is going to go funnel back into this to hire more journalists and do more things for you guys, because that's how winning is done. It really is. We got a merch store and stuff. You can help there, and if you can't help via money, you can always just leave a comment, and share this out there, because that helps us more than you can immensely know. That's the best way to help. Just leave a comment, and share. And if you're listening to us, leave a review. Leave a good review. Help us boost us in the podcast ratings and get us up there, because that's how winning is done. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.